Welcome back to Forgotten World Adventures, you guys. This week is kind of a special week. Normally I get together with a few more of my nerdy friends and play Dungeons & Dragons, but this week we've got a few who are missing. Connor has a play that he's having to cover one of the parts for, and Alan is out working, and then Mackenzie has got some stuff too that she may show up here a little bit later. But we had enough of our party missing that we decided we were going to just do something a little bit different today. So me and a few of my nerdy friends are going to get together and we're going to talk about the game that we've been working in. You guys, obviously, if you've been watching, you've noticed that we are not playing in standard Faerun worlds like messing around on the Sword Coast or something like that. This is all a homebrew created world that has been made by me. So we thought we would take some time to do a little bit of some explanation. This is kind of going to be like your guys' Gary's Book of Wonders, giving some information that you may not have otherwise, about Dryad, about the world at large, the current time period that we're playing in, some of the things that are going on. Stuff that these guys know a little bit about. Maybe they have more questions to understand, and then I'm going to have them ask me some questions that I can answer for them. And also, those of you guys who are here, if you've got questions on the chat, please feel free to ask. We'll have a few of our guys watching to see that Nate specifically is watching to make sure that he sees those and he can ask some of those questions. I'm happy to answer them. So we're gonna just hang out and kind of chill tonight, have a fun time just talking and kind of letting you guys into my world a little bit more than just what you guys see on the stream regularly.
Can I just say one thing? For anybody who's played .heck GU, welcome to the world.
Oh jeez. Alright, so...
And I've said my piece.
Yeah, just for a really quick thing, this is a world that I created when I was like 12. It all started with a funny, kind of a funny image, this crazy idea in my head with me and a friend when we were playing around, and I just wanted to create a scene that I had in my mind. And that scene turned into a story that we wanted to start writing, and we started developing, which turned into a relatively small country that we could work the game, work the story into, and that eventually turned into a much larger world in general with, so many years of history now. I've gone all over the place playing in this world, mostly with my brother, Matt, who, funny enough, we have the same name because we're from two different marriages, so we're stepbrothers, but we are brothers. Yeah, we played through all sorts of time periods and all sorts of things building this world together, and since I have stuck with it and I keep developing stories and writing, I've started writing and playing and continuing to make history and try to make a deep world with a lot of living parts and pieces and characters that are there. So that those who want to play in it, they've got something to work with, and I have something to really use and show that there's age to my world. For those of you who don't know, the world that we play in is called Dryad. Currently, we are largely focused around a large city called Isgalid. It happened to form after what was called the Twisting. Yes, Josh?
I do have a quick question, which I imagine people in chat would also. Where do you a lot of your naming conventions come from for cities and stuff?
So a lot of my naming conventions, that's difficult. It depends on what area of the world it is in, because I have kind of a relative idea for the way the worlds kind of feel. You get this in video games too. You get areas that kind of feel a certain way when you come into them, or in a certain video game, it just has a certain feel. You're like, oh, this kind of feels like I'm in Paris, or like I'm in some sort of European whatever.
Final Fantasy VII, where you go to Wu-Tang, whatever it's called.
Wu-Tang.
It's Japan.
It's definitely the Asian, yeah. But yeah, so I have huge areas in my world because it is the entire world. So I've tried to kind of cover and capture some of the cultures that I love and kind of play with them a little bit. You'll see that in a lot of different places. It's just a simple trope, but because of that, then I will try to use I will go and look at languages that are related to those areas. So Gaelic or African languages or like Slavic languages, or like if we're in Malice, I'm definitely going to be looking up a bunch of different Asian languages and seeing what connects to the roots that I want. And then on top of that, I also have to layer in my weirdness that I have with all of my my ancient Dryad tongue. I've got a little bit of a basis for how those things, like what things connect to what there. So Iskilid, the is, so there's il and is. They both actually are connected to a fashion of the word light, right? So Iskil, or like isk, ilid, right?
Okay.
So isk, sorry, I apologize. Ilid is where I have the il, right? It's the light word. Isk was supposed to be like the standing tower. So it's actually, literally, Iskilid was originally the lighthouse. And so the original teeny little city of Iskilid, which is now massive for what you guys get to see, right, and play in, Iskilid was originally just a little coastal town that surrounded itself around a lighthouse. They made the lighthouse for sailors to come into port safely. And so it became a place that started becoming a trade hub because everyone could come into the shore safe with that big lighthouse of theirs.
Yeah.
Things changed from there. But yeah, so the il is referencing light. I have other pieces of that language that have reference throughout. And so if it's something that, yes, I want a feel of the Asian bit, I'll find words that work, but then kind of wrap it into my stuff as well. So some of the words have more effect from the Dryad stuff. Some of them have more of the effect from an actual Asian language. I served a mission for my church in Korea. I lived there for a couple of years, and so I know Korean. So largely I have a lot of Korean little bits and pieces that you'll catch in there, but I don't just borrow from Korean. Largely because they are like based out of stuff like Chinese, right? So
yeah.
I'll try and go find roots and see what works like that. Or again, when we played in that Eritana area, right? Like that's actually like when you guys were in Argyle,
okay,
right? In the previous campaign that we played, I went and found a whole bunch of words that had meanings that I wanted, and like connected them to Gaelic, and then kind of tweaked them.
Okay. Right?
And so all of those names actually have meanings, right? That are actual meanings, and they're based out of Gaelic.
All right.
So.
Well, sorry for my sidebar, but go ahead with the kind of story and
yeah,
here.
You're fine. Yeah, those are the kinds of things that world builders do, right? Like you try to do your very best to make it feel as organic as you can. Anyways, with the world that you guys are currently playing in, the time period, you're playing a few thousand years after the twisting. So in my world, all the creation myths and stuff, right? That there was that the original race was all elven kind. They were an immortal race meant to live on this planet, made to live on the planet to gain as much knowledge and become like their creator. Over time, they ended up falling into some crazy things because there were great creatures that were put on Dryad to help balance the world between light and dark, and all sorts of other creatures you guys have run into or before in different games, sorry, I'm blanking all of a sudden. Like Arter the bear, right?
Yeah.
Or currently you guys are facing a gigantic blue dragon, right? This huge old.
Is he blue?
He's sapphire.
Yeah, he's blue.
Oh, okay. I missed that part.
Yeah, so he's this big sapphire
Or,
storm dragon.
When we were in the one town, they had the church dedicated to what's his name, the
To
wolf.
Seer?
Yeah.
To Lyric.
Yeah, the Wolf of the Hunts.
Right. And so these greater beasts were basically lieutenants underneath the dragons, and underneath those dragons are underneath the two great dragons that balanced light and dark. The light side being Chunja, the dark side being Hagor, and eventually things got too bad. The war between these dragons got out of hand because Hagor kind of misunderstood the whole balance. Like, he felt that he basically was the thing that would keep everything going, and they ended up becoming banished because they could have broken the world. After that, when the Elven kind were more left to themselves, and they weren't as much subservient to these greater creatures, now they were left to kind of figure things out. And when they did, a whole group known as Yagamoth, the Enlightened Ones, they ended up reaching in and finding, connecting with Hagor, a little bit unknowingly, but they wanted to gain all this knowledge that they could, and made some bad choices and nearly freed Hagor. And in doing so, when he tried to break the entire world's spirit, he almost killed them as they fought and resisted. And the only way that they could do that was basically holding on to the very core of who they are. And in doing so, they physically changed around that core of their who they really truly were within. And in doing that, now you have all this, all the different races. So there were other creatures. I want to get that out there for because I've explained this to some of these guys. But there were other creatures prior to the twisting. There were actual fae, and there were actual other slightly monstrous creatures. But anything that is considered humanoid, that's changed, right? That has a different race that's not human or that's not elven, right? Actually, that's not elven. All of those creatures came from the original elven race and were twisted during this moment in time. They were all only saved because the Dark Tower had the foundations cracked by one Yagamoth who was strong enough to resist. He cracked the foundation and took a piece of it with him so that it could never be reformed. And after that, Hagor has never been so close to coming out ever again. And then for a few thousand years, it was war and turmoil and horribleness amongst the races because
44th
they
millennia.
did not know how to get along.
There is
they did
only
not
war.
know to handle each other. Because imagine you were all one group of people, and then all of a sudden your best friend looks like this crazy monster, and as people try to figure out what in the world happened, and someone realizes that it has to do with who they really were on the inside, and that's what they've been turned into on the outside. Now you have horrible judgments being cast, right? And maybe longtime friendships lost, and all sorts of things. This is bad, and it really showed the true colors, right? The real colors of these people. Anyways, resulted in a lot of civil war, and eventually kind of the different races carving out areas for themselves. As peace is finally brought, as it just starts to settle down, then something really horrible ends up happening, and there's a plague that's actually brought upon the people, and it resulted in what's called the Chaos War. This is something you guys haven't dealt with or don't know about. I actually have a campaign that is going to be running just prior to the Chaos War. So we haven't had.
Of course you did. Come on.
We haven't had the Chaos War. I've never played in it, but the Chaos War was really nasty, and it is the thing that creates Iscolid, because people keep running to this town that was already growing because of the market share that it was basically carrying, and as more and more people flocked to it for safety, it all of a sudden became the bastion in civilization that was standing against the.
He said bastion, and you know it.
No, I was just being funny.
It became.
Don't get me wrong, I laughed. I'm just saying.
It became the thing that brought strength and security to the people, and it just continued to grow and grow and grow and grow into basically a nation, but all founded under one city. So then it gets divided out into the different areas, and one king has his basically like his earls underneath him that rule over the different areas of the city and report to him. You guys haven't really dealt a whole lot with like the individual areas of the town because you've had a pretty global trek, right? You guys left Iskallid pretty quickly and went off gallivanting.
Episode 1. We're just like, all right, this is the main city. Okay, goodbye.
Yeah, gallivanting off into the mountains to go find the forge.
Yeah. Another 3 weeks it took us to get back into the middle.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah, there's a ton there. There's so much inside Iskallid. But, let's see. I'm trying to think.
The time period
Yes.
that this campaign is taking place in, is that... You said it's a while after the twisting, right? A couple thousand years?
It's a few thousand years after the twisting, and now we have, like, actually reached a point... Sorry, I've now sat back a long ways. I don't know if I'm too quiet now all of a sudden.
I can adjust. Just give me a sec.
Sorry, my back.
I just talk louder.
Sorry, yeah, now we've reached a point where things are a lot more peaceful as far as, like, there's no war, the Chaos War is finished and put an end to.
Are there other
that threat's
legendary
gone.
swords in play at this point, or is this the beginning of the legendary swords being created?
So there's only one, and most people wouldn't really know much about it. Those who are the followers of the lady, they would know.
There's a whole
Wait,
story
the
arc.
lady?
Yeah,
It's
Like from the Saturday campaign, the lady?
yeah, the tears of the lady.
The crazy lady that took away all of our money?
She didn't do anything. Are you kidding me? That was Faye.
Okay.
You guys went through an area full of Faye circles, and they took your gold.
This is the blade that my previous character that we played, which is a future character.
Right.
Received.
This is basically my way of putting Excalibur in without calling it Excalibur. It's
I can't remember. It was the Arc Sword.
The Arc Sword. Yeah.
What about Burt Caliber?
No.
So the arc sword is already...
So the Arc Sword was created by the lady, and only gifted to man in order to keep. Basically, it's the key to unlock all the knowledge that's being collected.
That was Excalibur created by the lady who specifically
Of the lake.
Lives in the
Yeah.
lake, right? Yeah.
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 She is the lady of the lake. You never caught on to that?
No, of course I didn't. I didn't know it was Excalibur until you told me it was.
Well, the fact that it was the lady,
I kind of clicked the last campaign, so.
and she lives in a lake.
She wasn't my deity. I didn't care.
Yeah. Anyway, it's fine. But yeah, so that one sword is like the first of the true legendary blades. Not a lot of people know about the sword. There's like ancient historians. Gary might know about it.
So in Gary's Book of Mormon.
Yeah, because he's traveled all over the place. But unless you go into that area, you won't find it.
Look, Matt, honest to God, I know how much it annoys you when I would redo this. I couldn't tell if you were talking about Garion or actual Gary.
Oh, I'm gonna.
I translated both immediately and went, wait, which one's he talking
Garyon's
about?
way out there as far as timeline, right?
Yeah, so Garion takes place in a very different part of time. So much later than you guys currently are playing.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, so you guys are actually playing in a time period I have never had a game run in. I've never run anything during the War of the Three Kings. So it's kind of neat to see what's going on in this time, especially for the fact that your characters, just like without even attempting to do anything, have fallen right into characters I created a long time ago to explain historical
Our
things that
4
happened.
elves, 1 bird, 1 cat.
Yeah, so as far as the
Two
races,
cats,
as far as
Two
the
cats.
races go, that wasn't what it was, but the tropes and the style and the fact that you guys are playing into certain things and you don't even know. Like, I'm not trying to railroad anything in this, and you guys have done your own dang crap and just fallen right into it. It's just weird. Like, all the little choices that have been made. It's like it was the same kind of thing though. Like when we did the game prior with the sins and all that stuff, like I was already going there and someone else already had it, and I was like, oh, I have this idea. I'm like,
Yep.
okay,
Yep.
yeah. But
I
on
was
top of
really
that,
into
like
the 7
I
Deadly
didn't,
Sins when we played that game.
yeah. But what's funny is like I wasn't even thinking about that. I was just thinking of something else, and it just worked. And so yeah, it was amazing how whenever I've played a game, it always kind of feels like it's supposed to be the way it is. I've never felt like I had to do anything. You guys, it's just funny how well you fall into like the direction things need to go to feel like the world is actually going forward, even though I determined this history so much longer prior or something, you know, like anyways. Yeah, so let's see. As far as right now, Iscolid obviously is the superpower as in the world, as the place for it's like the economic hub, trade and everything is all done here. There are some other places that stand out, but they're a little bit more difficult to get to. Not as many people go there unless you're in the know, I guess. Orsina, you guys went there, as you remember. Orsina being basically the city of magic. It is not something you can just find. It's purposely hidden and guarded away. You can't just walk in. You can't just walk into Orsina.
Just kidding.
Like what is it? Isla de Muerte.
Isla de Muerto.
Yeah. But yeah, like there's Orsina, and then there's a city down in Carlin as well that is relatively large, and then we've got the northern quarry, but it's on the other side of the world. And yeah, so what you guys know is the Highland Quarry, and spent a year down in its dungeon, in its mines. Yeah, that area is pretty well developed as well. So there's those areas. There's the north, but it's largely run by giants and goblins. But their own economic stuff exists up there. They have cities.
Now say it with me. The city looks so pretty. Do you want to burn it with me?
Yes, Nero.
Nero? That was me talking.
Oh. Fitting name.
Nero would only burn a city if it was profitable to him.
Uh-huh.
Or if he actually cared to.
He definitely would have dropped that bank from the clouds.
You kidding me? That would have been the best grave robbery. That would be the best freaking bank robbery ever.
Oh, that would have been so messed
But how are we going to get it away from the tower? We drop it. What?
I still kind of wish I had tried to do that.
Tell you would have TPK'd the party.
Totally worth it.
Roll new characters.
Holy characters.
You're level 17.
Yep.
Roll new level ones.
Okay, we're starting the new campaign early.
That's weird. My new character was a farmer in this specific area near the mountains where it was always cloudy. And then a bank fell on his house. And he then was able to loot like a bunch of magic items from a bunch of dead party members that fell from the sky.
All of our new characters become adventurers because of the
bank. That would
the,
actually be really funny.
the catastrophe of the falling city.
Make a town around the new bank and call it Greed's Fall.
Greedfall.
Anyway, back to this actual campaign.
Yeah, so as far as what's going on, the big thing that's going on right now actually happens largely to do with what you guys are dealing with. Yes, David's character had this vision or saw what he did at the tower and was like, oh crap, the Yagamoth are doing something, and he thinks they're going to try and raise the tower again. But there's a lot more going on because of the political things that were going. Credence kind of started something without meaning to when he discovered the Star Mithril. Yes, babe?
So, what do you think the biggest threat is right now at this point in the campaign?
Well, that's actually what I'm talking about. So, like, the big thing here is that it's a huge political problem right now. As far as the Yagamoth were beat back into hiding, the Ska'ar, which are like orcs for my world, but a little bit more like, what's the best way of putting, like, kind of like Klingons. They're like really, they're about battle and fighting and stuff, but they're like very honorable. They're not just a bunch of evil, bloodthirsty creatures.
Okay, that was my question for them, but we'll get that more in question time.
Yeah. Anyways, so they may not be the most intelligent, and they're very easily riled up by Yagamoth, who are easily, by far and away, more intelligent than them, because most of them have lived for thousands of years longer. But yeah, there's stuff going on there, because there's a really large amount of Ska'ar, and there's a growing population of Yagamoth hidden down into the Darkholme. And then you've got mankind, which is definitely the majority of the world.
Because it turns out a lot of people were just a bunch of blank slates.
A bunch of people were just nothing special. But at the same time, like...
We're sorry, Fernando. No, I'm not.
Well, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, they were just the average Joe. I mean, it doesn't matter if you can live forever or not. Like, if you don't have anything that's, like, so heavy duty. That's why, like, in D&D they say virtually every other character who's not a PC, right, or a big deal NPC, any standard NPC villager is a neutral good, right? They're just blah. Yeah. Because, I mean, for the most part, a lot of people will just try to be good, but they're not so heavily, vehemently held to one side or the other or anything specific that humanity kind of is where that general thing falls.
That's fair.
So as the world is largely populated by them, that's what is mostly inside Iscalid, and that is also part of why this enormously powerful city being run by a bunch of humans who only live in the maximum maybe 100 years. It's a scary thought to the Yagamoth that these people who are so volatile are getting so powerful, and now some Tejungi wants to give them a weapon of mass destruction because he believes that so far humanity has been pretty good. They've tried. They've fought and fought and fought and fought back the evil. Like, they have beat them back constantly. And they've overcome so many things. He's like, this should be put in place to make sure that we don't have to worry about this again. And if Iscalid is going to be the city that stands and the city that brings peace between all the races, I want something to be there to help.
Okay.
Right?
So that does actually bring me to another question, just because you mentioned it. So this time frame we're playing is, War of the Three Kingdoms. So assumedly that's Iscalid, Yagamoth.
War of the Three Kings, but yes.
Yeah. So who's the third one?
You'll have to find out.
I'm just saying, as far as we've already went mildly spoiler and why,
I know.
Yagamoth did what they were doing. I was just seeing how much I could get away with.
I know. I don't want to give as much story for you guys away. I just want to kind of give a little bit more, as I said, world at large type stuff.
Right.
But yeah, the sorry. So yeah, that's why you kind of saw this whole, like, the Ska'ar joined up and fought alongside the Yagamoth. They're easily riled up, right? But there's other things out there. There's the gnomes, and there's the Tejungi, and there's all these things that exist out there that they've got their own thing going on. Gnomes are extremely intelligent engineers, but not the same way that the Tejungi are, right? Tejungi make some of the finest, like, they're the finest crafters, but the little intelligent gnomes make all sorts of bizarre, super intricate machinery, right? They make fine things that people can sell for a lot of gold, but they don't generally do much more than either blow up in your face or like cause tricks, or they are just something really fine and beautiful. Whereas gnomes make a lot more functional, real things that people are like, okay, we need to buy from the Taejungi because this is super finely crafted, whatever, that it's never going to bust and break down, that kind of stuff.
Maybe explain some of your terminology for the races.
Yeah,
so-
that is one I definitely meant to ask
Yeah,
about.
so I have tried to stick with what most people know and just give it a slightly different name. We've got the Taejungi, who are dwarves. We've got I still stuck with gnomes as gnomes, but we have the elven kind, which are like your basic elves. Yagamoth are the dark elves, or the drow, as you would know them from D&D. As far as their cultures and things go, those are different. They are not the same as what you'd get out of D&D. Like the Yagamoth are not a 100% matriarchal society that serves Lolth. Right? They are a well-mixed society. They're actually, again, because they were enlightened, they don't care whether you're male or female. They care about who the best leader is in their mind. Then that generally is connected to intelligence. It's connected to who knows the most and who knows how to use that intelligence, like that knowledge, the best. Who can really manipulate, really is the truth. But
I know. I just.
But then you've got the fact that they generally serve, like, the majority of them serve Hegel in some fashion. So most of them have a connection to one of the dark servants of Hegel. A lot of them happen to be connected to Becheron. Some of them actually are connected to Nixus. These are two of the creatures that we have referenced in the game so far. You've dealt
And
with.
that goes into one of my wife's questions about just like the basic pantheon you have and the gods we've met so far.
Right, so there's a lot of gods, guys.
Well, like
There's
the
a
ones
lot of
we've met so far.
Right,
Not
so
like every single one of them, but like a basic pantheon and then more.
yeah, so the super basic pantheon. You guys are far enough back in time where people still really think of the fact that there is probably something they know to be the creator.
That's actually who Rashida worships.
But most people think of him at this point as kind of like what the best way to put it is kind of like this metaphysical thing. Like, we came in like he's consciousness, not that it's a being, right? And that it kind of just the collective consciousness created something. There are some who do still follow the creator as though he was an actual being. That generally happens to be the Order of the White Staff. They are made up of a collective of enlightened people from throughout the entire world. They're not all humans. They can be any race. They just happen to have found a different purpose in life to fight, but to do it in as non-violent of a way as possible. Like, they're not the straight up go out and kill everything with a sword. They generally walk around with a staff, and that's it. And they carry mass power, but they don't use it very frequently. At least not to destroy. So, yeah, with Rashida, she happens to be an acolyte to them, and yeah, she would follow the belief that there is just this creator, and everything underneath that happens to just be like a servant to the creator. So yes, we start with the creator. Each group of people kind of looks at what the creator is very differently, and as time goes on, they kind of lose sight of there even being one. Then you have Chanja and Hegel underneath that. Chanja and Hegel were the absolute balancers of light and dark. They were the embodiment of what those things were supposed to be. All of the good and hopeful and light-bringing things were embodied in Chanja. All of the dark and painful and things that we would think of as horrible and bad were the embodiment of what Hegel was. But good and bad was not supposed to be the idea. It was light and dark. The things that bring about hope, the things that bring about sadness, so that they would bring those into the world so that we can better understand. You have to go through the sorrow to appreciate the joy, right? That was their whole thing of this world, is that they kept balance. Hagor, being who he is, saw just how powerful his little things could be. Every little thing that he threw in could toss an entire person's world upside down. Even small things could become like mountains. And he's like, I'm the one with the real power. And he's like, if I rule, then it doesn't matter. Like, I should be the one with governing say of how things are going to happen. And so it became a war. Because the only way to keep balance was for Chunja to fight. The harder and harder and harder Hagor fought, the harder Chunja had to the point of where they were going to break the world. So that's those two. Underneath those, we have 10 dragons that helps to balance the world out. And they are relatively... at this point now, with all the time that they've had away, the majority of it you see them as good, but they were kind of neutral because the whole point was to balance. They just had different aspects. Some of them we have. I could read to you really quick. I don't have my thing. Now I do need my book. But yeah, so like one of the dragons that you guys are currently dealing with, this sapphire dragon, happens to be one of those 10 dragons. That may be knowledge I shouldn't give to you, but I will.
I mean, there aren't many other dragons. Well, no, I guess we've
There
fought
are
3 at this point.
there are a lot of dragons. The dragons that you guys have run across in games that we have played actually happen to be some of those, the legendary ones.
Oh yeah, no, the green one absolutely, and then like a couple other ones.
The gold one that you guys dealt with was just a dragon.
Yeah, but then like I assume the white one we resurrected was
the
actually...
white one was one of the legendaries. This sapphire one is a legendary one.
This campaign, I think we've only dealt with the black dragon and the red dragon.
Yeah, but those were lesser dragons.
The black dragon that you dealt with, that is just straight up a black dragon. It wasn't anything special.
Other than the fact
that it was a really nasty dragon.
I'm just thinking about in this campaign the dragons that we have met so far.
Yeah. And this dragon that you've met here is...
So we've met
for reals.
In this one.
What was the other dragon?
The red dragon.
We faced the red dragon and the young red dragon in the forge.
The one where
yes.
The one that we talked into running away.
Yes.
The one that Farian talked into running away.
Yeah, and that was
Ferial, not Farian.
Yeah, Ferial.
Farian.
Ferial. Yes, and that dragon was brought by the Agamoth. Yes.
Yep. Oh, wow. Jeez, yeah.
Yeah, and so, that was just a standard, just normal dragon. This is the first legendary dragon that you've ever run across. So there's 10 of those. And as I said, they're not as much... Like, Seer is like a good aligned dragon. You guys have heard a little bit about Seer from the previous campaign and stuff. But, so there's those 10 dragons. They have different aspects that they kind of lord over. Then you have some of the other greater beasts like Artair or...
Artair the bear.
Yeah, Artair the bear.
Lyric.
Yeah, or Lyric the wolf, or Halfel the stag, the great stag.
I was trying to remember the name.
Yeah, in this campaign we've only never really talked about Altair.
I think you had a little reference to Artair before.
Yeah, because it was one of the...
Or not, sorry, Lyric.
Lyric.
Because Lyric
was...
Oh, no,
yeah. You had, in this campaign, we had Lyric. In Artair, she was a huge thing in your game.
Oh, yeah, because she was my deity.
She was your deity, and you guys got marked by her.
It was the god in that one town where we faced all the dogs.
Yeah.
Sorry, just thinking back to last campaign.
Anyways, so, like... There's a lot of those kinds of things. There's some like any of the greater beasts. There's a giant warthog. There's a giant, and all of them are very large compared to what they normally would look like.
Yep.
And they have different things that they kind of, as I said, as they rule over. There's Freya, which is a massive falcon that she's over like justice and law.
I think we met that. We had that one too because that was.
I've heard that name before, but I think that's last campaign.
No, it was the one of the shrine that we went to that had the Beshron dagger.
Oh yes, it was originally a shrine to Freya.
And it had been desecrated.
Correct, yeah, it was
It was
desecrated.
desecrated
That's
by
what
the
it was.
Veshron dagger, which also had a tear of the lady in it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we met two of the great beasts.
Well, we've heard of two.
We've heard of two of the great beasts in
Right.
this campaign. In this
Right.
campaign.
And Freya's cool. She has a whole following called the Iron Wardens that live up in Roma. And they all follow her. On their shield they have the giant falcon on their shield and stuff. They're like the super police force of Roma.
You're telling me it's a Roma.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
Tomato.
But yeah, there's a lot of others. There's an enormous so this is where I rip a little bit of Tolkien, but you know Ungoliant from the Silmarillion. If you don't, that's fine. But in my in my world, I have spiders that are referred.
Tay,
Me and a
no,
bunch of my nerdy friends.
Let's
get
all
together and
stop
play
and
D&D.
take a second. The man wearing a jacket that's armor that's supposed to be from World of Warcraft is calling the rest of us normal people a nerd.
No.
People.
Just him.
Just me. I can take this. There's a reason I'm the DM, right?
Well, I'm sorry, Harry Potter. Sure. You with your circle glasses and Thunderbolt on your shirt. Now that I've done tearing Tay apart, we should probably continue.
Anyways.
That's not even what the shirt is for. It was for his superhero RPG.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
It works.
Okay. Anyways, so you guys play superhero RPGs and you call me nerds.
Right?
Hey, he called you a nerd.
I only said that because you were referencing the Silmarillion.
For heaven's sake, Silmarillion is awesome. Anyway, so Ungoliant is the mother of Shelob from Lord of the Rings. She is the nastiest. Like she's almost an embodiment of actual darkness. Like so, she eats one of the trees from the elven home that brings light, right? And so she like devours light. Yeah, in Valinor.
I'm sorry, nerd. What are you saying?
Nerd.
Anyways, so in a little bit of an homage to that, my world's enormous spiders are called Ungoliant spiders. So there is a really big Ungoliant spider that is a greater beast that is not a good creature. The most of the really dark stuff had to hide away and find a way to not be banished into Darkvale. And so there's not as many of those. There's a lot more neutral aligned beasts that are out there.
He will find them. Don't worry.
He'll go find all the dark things. All the things.
You know the warriors of light? Nah, we're the seekers of darkness.
The awakeners of the dark.
I am the Shadowbringer.
In the dark of the night, evil will find key.
Yeah, anyways, so there's things like the Ungoliant spider. There's a bunch of those. And then underneath that, there's like a few things, but not much. Like you'll find like there are other things that are not actual beasts. You've got the Seven Sisters, which you guys dealt with in the previous.
And the only one we
campaign
currently know of is
is about Becheron.
Well, no, Becheron and
The lady, right? So there's two of the sisters,
Because Shalia right now is assassin for Becheron.
right?
And then we found the Tear of the Lady.
Found the tear of the lady.
7 deadly sins.
No, they are not.
No?
Nope.
What did we ever do with
So
the Tear of the Lady?
the only
We
reason.
gave it to the Scar.
Oh my gosh, what is going on?
I think the dog's upstairs.
Yeah.
It's a big dog who can't
No,
walk, apparently.
it's them trying to grab the dog.
Get away! I don't want to be grabbed!
It's our corgi.
Corgi. It's because his entire body hits the floor every time he runs.
No, I think it's them kneeling, trying to pounce on the dog. It's a squirmy little thing.
Yeah, he's a squirrely little corgi. Alright, so anyways,
Man, can you believe
I
that
apologize for the thunderstorm above us.
Yeah, it's definitely a
Are
thunderstorm.
there 7 brothers for the 7?
There are not 7 brothers.
Well, but there's
Then you can't have the 7 brides with 7.
They're not called 7 brides. They're
I
7
know.
sisters.
Well, I don't care. They would
Alright.
be brides if
Alright.
you had 7 brothers.
That's fair, but are there the
Right?
7 dwarves?
No,
Oh.
there are 7. There are 7 dwarf lords.
Maybe
Are they
Maybe the
Like
Taejungi?
there are
sisters
seven,
are
there's 7.
dwarves.
There's 7 Taejungi lords.
Taejungi is actually his version
Yeah,
of
there's
dwarf.
7 Taejungi lords, which Tolkien also did, by the way.
Yeah.
I laughed so hard when
7 were given to the
I
dwarves.
laughed so hard when he's like, and 7 were given to the dwarves. I'm like, oh my gosh, I love you, Tolkien. You just made Snow White bad A. Anyways,
That can't be a Disney reference, can it?
Snow White's way older than
Okay,
Disney.
good.
Are you
I was
kidding
just-
me?
Snow White is a Grimm's brother.
Brothers Grimm.
Fairy tale,
And
but not a
Brothers
fairy
Grimm,
tale. It's
Brothers
actually
Grimm only
scary.
compiled a bunch of things that had already existed for hundreds of years prior. So
Fair enough.
that is a ubiquitous type.
That's why Disney can't copyright claim that
They can only copyright their animation.
their
Okay.
animation, their character design.
If they
Not
could, they
actually.
would, but they can't. So they won't.
Yeah, they tried.
Unless they buy the stuff, which is expensive. But anyways.
They kill all the cultures that ever had Snow White first, and then then they can do it.
Now. No, I don't even know what to call that at this table.
Genocide?
No genocidal thoughts.
No. Genocide's allowed. Let's just not bring Disney into it.
Oh,
Disney side.
I actually wasn't.
The copyright claims.
The
The
copyright
I, wa-
claims
I,
are
wa-
coming.
I,
He's like,
I was say I wasn't criticizing them. I just thought it was funny. Anyways, yeah. So, yeah, there are like my. You always have to try and have like fun little Easter eggy joke things like that.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
right? Anyways,
Like the lady at the lake.
yeah. So the 7 sisters actually is reference to a constellation in the sky. There's
Oh yeah, the 7 sisters.
right, and so I was like, this is perfect because Dryad in the long run is supposed to be the extreme ancient history of our world before magic got broken. And yeah, it's like it's just basically a giant Pangea, and having the constellations in the sky, like the 7 sisters and stuff, would make sense. And now you have reference for why they called it that. Right? It's not just some random thing. There actually are 7 gods that they believe in, called the 7 sisters, and they saw this cluster of 7 stars, and said that's the 7 sisters.
Fair enough.
Anyways, yeah, each of them again is kind of over different aspects and such. So yeah, you've got those kinds of things that exist. They're extremely powerful creatures. They would stand as like lieutenants over the top of greater beasts. So anything that is in more of a human avatarish type form would be more than the greater beasts, and then the greater beasts would be underneath that. So as far as Pantheon goes that way. I've always been open to having virtually the entire pantheon of D&D gods still available as far as play goes, because I think it's cool.
Oh yeah, Mittens worships one of those.
Yeah.
Or
Because
her-
so far the 2 gods you haven't mentioned is Mitten's god, and the one key is Pact Bound too.
Right.
So.
So as far as the Great Old One or any of those kinds of things, so like in D&D they have this thing called the Great Old One,
Yeah.
and I know that
It's supposed to be an unknown, strange
it's
phenomenon throughout the universe.
right, and
Cthulhu.
So yeah, here's the thing, like in the stories of Cthulhu, there's a lot more than just Cthulhu that exists. There's Dagon and a bunch of other gods, and they're all just the eldritch beings, these eldritch gods that they all just basically worship chaos. They're
I forget what his
super
name is,
messed
but
up.
there's one where it's like this giant monstrosity that like just floats in space and has the ability to destroy the world, like destroy the universe on a whim, if it ever realized it had the possibility to do so.
Right, it's just not conscious that it can.
Yeah.
Right.
And like that's what I love about like Eldritch horror.
Right. And so I was like, cool. Why not have something that is a little bit different? It's not 100% a Cthulhu creature. Like, it's not Cthulhu. But it's a creature of madness and chaos and stuff. Like, let's make this great old one creature this thing. So I haven't defined him yet, and I don't want to define him because I don't want to give anything away.
I just want to help define the pantheon of what we know so far in the
Right.
game.
As far as the creature that she worships, it's supposed to be basically a creature, like a god that kind of usurped another god and then became a god of two things.
And his name is Gary.
No.
No. You got the pronunciation wrong. It's Gari.
Oh, guys.
No,
so
thou shalt not speak
this
badly
one-
about Matt's guy.
This one is Dalsethel. See, Garion isn't even a god. That's the thing that's funny.
No, he was a man who kind of... Yeah, anyway.
He's a man who became a servant.
Who people refer to as a god.
People think of him as god, yeah. But that's much later. Anyways, so yeah, Dalsethel is the god that Mittens worships. I talked with her and kind of like when we found out about its history and its style, I was like, oh, this is great. Like, what if this thing has to find a new host? It just burns through the host bodies after a certain amount of time, because that's kind of what happened the first time, and that's how it ended up gaining the powers of another god. Well, what if it has to find new hosts? So that's been part of the storyline that I've been building with her character and some of the things going on, and with Rashida and some of the connections that are going on there. So I don't want to, again, not want to give a ton away there. But yes, that's Dalsethel. He's supposed to be a god of death and light. Odd connection, or odd.
Works for a grave cleric.
It does work for a grave cleric, though. That's the thing that's funny. It's like she sees the good in understanding how to deal with death properly.
So you're Ruby Gloom.
Ruby Gloom.
Don't
Yeah.
know what that is,
From
but sure.
Ruby.
No, Ruby Gloom. It's a Canadian TV show, and it's actually a kid show, but like the whole premise is looking on the bright side of the dark side, and that's what the intro is.
Oh yeah.
Is look on the bright side of the dark side, and it's a really like kind of gothic colored show, but it's really upbeat, and it's actually kind of cool.
That's cool. I like it. But yeah, I mean, there's a reason. Mittens is like a no nonsense, like. She's a no-nonsense character. She sees what you guys do, and she just kind of, like, there's a reason she acts the way she does, because, I mean, as far as Elena goes, she can play the gamut of all sorts of crazy characters that either, like, go from one end of, like, super funny and just go along with the whole crowd because she's happy, to Mittens' character, which seems a lot more like, I do my crap, you guys are making really stupid choices, and I'm not going to follow along because this is how I am. Where she's a little bit more stoic to that fashion. I mean, not stoic, I guess, is stalwart.
Yes.
She's not stoic. She definitely lets her. She definitely shows some emotion to that fashion, but yeah, it's like that. That god is a big deal for her storyline and some of the things that are going on there. So yeah, I've left it open for that. So like the whole pantheon of D&D gods are kind of available. I've left them even in later times because as far as like my world goes, it's not too long after the play. Let's see. Yeah, I'm trying to think here. It's not too long after the Plague War and after the War of the Three Kings that the barrier gets put up. As you guys know what I'm talking about, this whole barrier that gets put up that stops things from being able to traverse the planes into Dryad. They stop other D&D planes, realm travelers, like the
Planeswalkers.
The monodrones. What are they called? Primus's people.
Yeah, I can't remember what they're called.
Yeah.
The Clockwork people.
Yeah. I just lost them. The guys who are all inside Nirvana, but those people, they what?
They're what a realm called?
Not the realm. It used to be called something else. It's called Nirvana now.
Sure.
Yeah. Or it used to be Nirvana. Now it's called something else.
Does it smell like Team Spirit there?
No, it does not. Nirvana is not specifically a band name. It is a band's name.
I know.
But Nirvana was first a belief from a religion.
I know, but
Yes, I understand. Anyways, yeah, so like all of those people couldn't just like bore a hole into reality and walk in and do their thing. So they've stopped that, but it hasn't happened yet. And so all those other gods have had influence at some point, and there's the great demonic forces like Asmodeus and
Asmongold.
Orcus and all of the demon princes and all that's all stuff that exists. Glabrezu and all that kind of stuff. Like you'll see.
I looked it up. So it's called Mechanus. It was also known as the Clockwork Nirvana of Mechanus, or simply Nirvana in AD&D.
Yes.
Oh, that's fun.
So, anyways, yeah.
Yeah.
At this point, that hasn't happened. So yeah, like the entire Pantheon is available there as far as the questions for Pantheon stuff. Questions?
None
the
from
audience?
chat, but I have a few from Kenzie.
I also have
Okay.
a few.
So
That's just fine.
We can start taking turns, or
Yeah, I'll throw some
Yeah.
questions out from
A
you
couple
guys.
questions.
Is mayo an instrument?
I wouldn't
What?
play mayonnaise
No,
if it were
Patrick.
me.
Mayonnaise is not an interest.
no,
You asked if I had any questions, man.
Is mayo an instrument?
Is
mayonnaise an instrument? Alright, so one of Kenzie's questions, well, the first one was about the pantheons, or the gods that we've met. The other one is just to help her understand her character, because she does play a drow, a Yagamoth. She kind of wants to know just a bit more how their community and general lifestyle goes, even though we haven't visited down there. It's
Yeah.
like, how
She grew up there, so
Because it's
the
like
assumption
so far
is
what
it is.
we've learned is like they may have a central ruler, but it's controlled by families.
So there are really important, powerful families that exist. I've kind of put it that there's largely these two kind of beliefs. One is more faith driven, and the other is more self driven. They both are very large into arcana, deep understanding of magic. But one group follows more faithfully to their beliefs in the gods and the creatures that followed Hagor, right? Whereas the other group is like, I'm going to achieve my goals how I want them, and I will learn the magic myself. So you kind of have like warlocks, sorcerers on one side and wizards on the other, right? Not that that's truly how it's perfectly divided, but I'm just saying like the mindsets, right? The wizard who will delve into everything and figure it all out for himself versus the sorcerer who just has it built into him, or the warlock who makes the pact.
So where does her family fall inside of those groups?
Her family generally falls more towards the faith, which she does not.
She still doesn't know why she is branded a traitor. By the way, we're still.
So when she left,
because that's another one of her questions is what would be a reason a Yagamoth or a Drow would be on the surface?
right?
Because they mainly live in the Underdark.
And so yeah, when I talked with her about this, when we talked about character
she was
development,
doing what I remember from her telling me is like it would be like they had a 5-year period where they'd be allowed to go out and explore and then come back.
and see, she hadn't talked about me with that at all.
I thought she did.
So she had talked to me about that she ran from an arranged marriage.
Oh, that yeah. Okay.
And she wanted nothing to do with it. She didn't want to do it mostly because her family's doing this as a power play, and there's this faith belief that they're going to gain more power by joining these two families. And she's like, one, I don't believe in your guys' crap, because I don't think we should bring Hagor back the way you're thinking, and I don't follow your stuff. And so she ran. She's like, I want nothing to do with the marriage. And so her family deems her a traitor because of that. That's what I've always been running with from when we first talked about it.
So yeah, so it still brings up the question. It's like, why would we if you ran into Yagamoth on the surface? Why would a Yagamoth be?
Yeah, the general reason you'd ever run into a Yagamoth on the surface would be that because they're trying to kill you, achieve some goal for their faith, or they are a complete traitor and they have been shunned from their people. So those are your two big reasons. One. Yeah, so for her, if she's running, that would be the reason she's on the surface. She doesn't want to stay down in the dark home by any means. Yeah. So, yes, Josh?
I was making just comments.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that was mainly all of Kenzie's. Was she just wanted to know more about the drow lifestyle and community, and then that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as far as community goes, again, they're largely led within the family by the wisest, by the most capable, whether it's male or female, they don't exactly care. Within the larger society, they are often led by the most powerful, the oldest, the one who seems to be the wisest of the group. So you have more powerful, noble families. One thing that happened with the Yagamoth during the twisting is most of them, their hair was turned, not most of them. A lot of their hair got turned white from the extreme stress.
White, like whipped cream?
Like whipped cream.
Yes, whipped cream. I couldn't resist that one.
Others, though, their hair remained a darker color, and they are looked down upon as though they were not fully transformed into a true Yagamoth. Despite the fact that in real truth they are probably stronger because they didn't, their bodies underwent the exact same amount of stress, and they didn't lose pigmentation in their hair. So there are times that those who have the darker hair actually stand out as the more powerful, but they are always put down in their society. They are held as lesser. And so in most cases they have the lower jobs, they're servants, they're that kind of a thing, which is really funny coming from a group that are supposed to be enlightened, right? But they immediately started creating a class system in their own situation there and saying, well, we're the better ones.
Julia has white hair.
Yes, she does. She is from a higher noble family.
Really
Hence the princess ran away.
Apparently.
Yes. Huh?
Hence the princess ran away and she had to sleep with two bedrolls. She needed to be comfy.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure how you were going to end that sentence. I'll be completely honest.
She didn't even have to sleep. She just wanted to be comfy.
She just wanted to be comfy.
That's true.
Anyways, so yeah, that's kind of the building there.
Those were all of Kenzie's questions. So.
Yeah, the elder of the family is often they kind of at least of the noble families, they have a lot of say with the leader, with the actual ruler down below. So he could call a council and they would all come to speak and counsel one with another and make decisions. But it's there's a very large community and they're actually as they feel to some degree as this enlightened group. While they have a leader, he's not the tyrannical, horrible leader that way. He makes a decision, but he actually does counsel with people that he trusts, and it's a large council. It's not just 2 or 3 who always have his ear. And so that's one of those things that if other societies could come to understand them, and if they would not be so driven towards Hagor, they could be a huge change to the world, but they aren't because they've entrenched themselves in something. It takes a very, very long time before they ever get anywhere near being okay. But there are the outliers, right? Peregrine.
So, sorry,
Go ahead.
Alan just asked a question in chat.
Yeah.
So Alan's in chat now.
Hey, Alan.
He asks,
We miss you.
have all the different clans and families in the Yagamoth have been created with specific names? If so, have you gone into the politics between them, i.e. who is allied with who, house rivals, etc.?
I haven't, largely because I haven't had a lot of people play the Yagamoth until I've played with you guys.
Except for Malekith.
Mostly because a lot of people have been scared to do it, because I have no problem with repercussions for someone being a dark elf running around where they shouldn't. But so far you guys have done, Peregrine hid himself constantly and changed himself and did all sorts of
Made it
things.
so I couldn't.
Well, yeah. But even then, like, you were around enough people that were a little bit more understanding at those points. And you were proving yourself. Shalia, on the other hand, is like, she's walking a really thin line.
I like her a lot better than a lot of the people in this campaign so far. At least Nero does.
Yeah, but she is walking a very, very thin line.
Well, we made a really
keeping her
good bond
alive.
in like episode 1, even
Yeah.
though we shaved you bald.
Well, that was the thing though. It was like the fun like turnaround though, because that happened episode like 1, and then however far down the line it was like she tried doing it again, and I freaking flipped it on her.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of like
It's like it was just like you two made that friendship since episode 1. Though it's not been a very
friendship.
vocal and thing. It's like you two have always had each other's backs.
Dude,
if
but
you look throughout
that-
the campaign.
That will be like forever my favorite thing I've said so far is just like after Shalia, got passed out drunk and then Nero brought her back to the room and just kind of, and then you guys all came back and she wakes up and she feels her hair and then looks at Nero and I just go, I'm a merciful God. That will by far probably be my favorite portion of this campaign.
But yeah, I haven't done a ton of development there. It is actually something I've been working on for Gary's Book of Wonders. Just to let you guys know.
But you need to start sending those so I can
Yeah,
start producing.
I've already got some ready to go.
Because they're just going to be like
send to you.
quick 2-3 minute things that I'll put in the breaks, so they don't have to be long.
Yeah.
So.
So yeah, Alan, I don't have them fully developed yet, but it is a work in progress. Because let me tell you, creating an actual world, it's really difficult when you have petabytes of information to go through, right? But yeah, it is coming. Questions? More questions?
Dang,
yes.
you have some?
I want to know more about the Ringing Blade. Because at this point, all I know is their name and that they're the Guards of Light Veil, and that's it.
Right, so the Ringing Blade. These guys are extreme elite warriors.
Okay.
They are specifically the defenders of Lightvale. They are there to preserve the pure Elven bloodline and those who have chosen to kind of really truly follow the light. Right?
Okay.
They are protectors of knowledge and seekers of good, but
Okay.
they have been to some extent neutered because they simply guard Lightvale. They don't go out to the world.
I think that then begs the obvious question. So what are you doing here?
I don't know.
It's actually you have reason.
Oh, I do. No reason tied to the Ringing Blade.
No, not to the Ringing Blade. It's his own personal reasons.
Yeah,
It's
I know,
his
but
father.
never mind.
And he's only a very loose initiate to the Ringing Blade at this point. He's not a full on I am going to be this thing. But yeah, for you to get into that that'll be really cool. You've got the beginnings of it, and you're there.
Mm-hmm.
When you return home, you're gonna have a lot of experience and bring a lot with you, and actually probably improve the Ringing Blade itself.
Okay.
Which would be pretty cool. Yeah. Any other questions?
Yes, I have. So, we talked a little bit a while ago about the Blight,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know anything else about that.
The Blight.
It was a disease that killed a character in my backstory,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know and you gave me the name.
I know.
And I have no idea
So-
what it is.
The Blight is what your people call it.
Okay.
And that's all.
There are other people who call it the Demon Plague. And it is the source. Well, it was one of the things that came with the Chaos War.
Okay.
So it's stuff that has happened in the last few hundred years from the Chaos War. There are very small remnants of it because it hasn't been entirely wiped out after the Chaos War.
Okay.
And so every once in a while it may pop up, but it is a rare thing. The kid who died from the blight, his heart would have turned crystalline, and if it reached out any further, you would have seen that. But his heart would have turned crystalline, and he would have been turned monstrous, and would have had to been brought down because of the blight.
Okay.
Any other questions?
You guys have experienced some of that in the different Saturday game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a sad thing.
So, I just had a couple things. Maybe talk about the significance of the two swords currently being created. I know that there are legendary swords inside of Dryad.
Mm-hmm.
The Arc Sword is the only one that's currently there, but two swords are currently being created that will be legendary swords, but...
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how much I want to talk about them. You guys...
Just because we're currently building them.
Yeah, because you're
Like it's
currently
a part of the
dealing with them, and I
campaign.
don't really want to
We
give
kind of want to
a whole lot
focus
away.
things that are either before important to character backstories and lore, or important to characters at the moment, or
Ooh.
just more clarification at the moment.
Right.
Well, maybe to talk about the White Staff then, what
Oh yeah, I guess that's a
each
good one.
character, what each person would know about it.
Yeah.
Rashida's come in as part of the White Staff, and so I know a lot about it, not
Right.
only because of Rashida, but because I'm your wife. But the other characters would probably know something about the White Staff, and it would probably hold some
Another wish on your
significance for them. So,
What?
What?
That look.
I don't know what you're talking about, Matt.
Just go.
Anyways, yeah. So, as far as the White Staff go, I'm just trying to think. I think that as far as this group goes, the people who would know the most about the White Staff would be Calum and Mittens and Rashida, obviously.
Can I make the argument for Ferial?
Yeah, Ferial probably would.
Ferial would know about them. He's been around long enough to know. Would he have a ton of information? Probably not, because it would all be hearsay. Because the White Staff themselves probably would want nothing to do with them.
Well, yeah, but you can still have a person that you find out about. I mean, 500
Oh, absolutely.
years is a lot of time.
He can dig out and get information, but again, as I said, it's going to be more hearsay. It's going to be more. It's all secondary stories. It's not. I met this dude and I know his story. As much as it is the other. But yes, Fedial would definitely know some information. He may not he would enjoy them because the White Staff create stories. He would care about that. Because these guys are devoted to bringing things down that are evil, and that always leads to a fun story for him. And as he kind of is known as a kind of a like his song is almost known as a death dirge, right? Like people are scared because anytime that that fluttering leaf cape comes into town, something bad is about to happen. That's how some people think about him. Is almost like an omen. And so...
And that's also, I think, the first time we've heard about this.
No, I've brought it up before. You just weren't listening, I don't think. But I
listened pretty well, though.
I think you were talking...
Clearly talked.
I'm pretty sure that was just Connor and I that you were talking about that.
Maybe. But I'm pretty sure I've talked to this table as well. Probably more of a side conversation, though. It's okay. As far as that goes, though, like, yeah, he's kind of... Like, that's kind of a thing with his character. Until they know who it is. Like, until they're like, oh my gosh, I know who you are. They're not going to really think much about it. He's just an elf. You know? This odd elf. But, yeah, so he... Generally, after he comes into town, or after the bad thing has happened, is when the White Staff would end up showing up, if they ever did.
Right.
But then that's where he would get his stories from, right? Is after the fact. Because he's more investigating, and then the bad thing rolls through, and then he writes the story about the bad thing and the good thing that happened afterwards. So yeah, he would know. But as far as the White Staff go, they are, as I said before, a group of largely enlightened men and women that are devoted to bringing down evils that would really truly plagued the world. They had a very large part in helping to bring down the chaos, like to end the Chaos War. And because of that, they are absolutely always welcome in Iskalid. The king turns to them and looks to them as the finest counselors he could ever have. But they don't show up very often because they are all over the world, and there's a very small number of them. Something you guys don't know, you don't know as a character, but Tay's character, Kalen, would probably know. Ferial would know. You two would know. One of the big things that kind of comes up for them is the fact that they have had some sort of a meeting, spiritually or physically, whether that's really known or not. They have had some sort of a meeting with Chanja in their life, and having had that meeting, they have obtained the ability to use his flame.
But wait until we get to the part of the story where the red staff become a problem.
No.
They want a dark. They want Hagor back.
Yeah. Chaos reigns.
No. Anyways,
one of them's a lava bender who's freaking amazing.
Oh, my white staff stuff came in so much longer before I ever saw Korra or the White Lotus.
I know.
But yeah.
To be fair, White Lotus was before Korra also.
I know. I also had all that stuff put together long before I ever saw Avatar. But yeah. It's a trope. That's what it is. Anyways, yeah, so these guys, they have had some sort of an encounter with Chanja at some point in their life. That's part of what grants them the mass amount of power that they have. They generally don't seem to have much of an issue with teleporting or to do something here or there that's pretty powerful. They also don't tend to use their powers very flamboyantly, if possible. They try more subtle things. Now, yes, in the presence of people that they need to affect, they will use what they need to at the time. But as time goes on and they end up becoming the Anointed, right? When you guys have dealt with the Anointed, they're a bit more flashy. They're a little bit more willing to use their powers. But yeah, so the white staff, you guys would know. Any white staff walking with a staff that actually looks white is a big deal bad A mama jamma from the white staff, because their whole thing is that when they have put down, like when they've brought an end to something evil and dark, they take a piece of the black staff that they carry and whittle, like take off the bark, take off the skin, and reveal the white underneath once. So they had to have taken a lot of things down to have revealed a white staff. And generally the white staff do not have a pure white staff in hand. It's got some sort of mottled black and white thing going on to it, because the whole point is their whole life's work is to make a white staff, to bring peace in their corner of the world, right? So yeah. That's what you guys would know for the majority of those who would know. That's what you know about them. You guys may have heard some stories.
Right.
I definitely think that your character for sure would have heard stories about him. You'd just think you would be probably more worried about being around them because you're a lawbreaker. Yeah. You'd probably get a little antsy around them.
Now remind me, which one is he talking to?
All of you.
All
over
three of
us.
us.
Yes, I can agree.
Most of this table, when...
but that's a question though. Which table am I technically a part of? Because
Well,
I
right
don't
now you're
know
part
anymore.
of this table.
Right now you're over there. So
Back when this table was the bad table, when it was me, you, and my wife,
yeah.
Bad to the bone.
you had the thief, the assassin, the smuggler.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah,
The martyr.
that you guys would feel a little bit worried around him, but like that's only because you've heard stories. You don't know them on a personal level like some of these others, or at least you don't know them as well as more than just the stories of their bastions of light. They're good guys, right? You don't want to be around them because you're scared that they're too much like the cops.
Yeah. In certain
Especially
cases,
since I
they're
just
worse
saw-
than the cops so far. I'm just saying.
Yeah, they just blew up an altar to the person I've made a pact to, so I am definitely afraid of them.
Well, that was actually another question I had. So the cultists we found inside of the cave, which is supposed to lead to the Yagamoth, which is an established route to get there, which is overrun by bad guys and evil things. Was that Nixus or was that to his god?
Both.
You'll have to find that out, guys.
Well, no, because we found that out, didn't we?
I did.
We knew that.
You didn't find anything out.
Key found it out.
Okay, so the people that are around the table that know about this, because this is just a normal question.
Yeah, as far as what you experienced, as far as what he experienced, was they sent the thing after him, and it led to him having an experience with his god.
Right, but with the altars we found.
With the thing that it told him, it basically said, "I'm all these things."
It's like
It
half
doesn't-
the
it
stanzas you gave me were just names.
Yeah, he's like, it doesn't matter what god you call me. This is what I am.
Yeah, I can actually flip to that.
Okay. I've only had problems with that because of the same reason Taze had problem with DeVito in the last game, where it was just the god I followed didn't fit the domain I was. When you say that, and it sounds like he's a main pantheon god, but he's an old one.
You have to
Yeah.
get the full story though.
Yeah, like literally, there's four stanzas in that one verse. In that one thing he told me were just lists of names. So.
Right.
All right.
All right. Any other lore questions?
Alan has some more questions from the chat. Some really good ones. Does magic have a specific source in this world? And what is the lore / mechanics of magic?
Yeah, so as far as magic goes, I have always had it built way too much more like Dragon Ball Z than it probably should be. It is more to do with learning how to channel either your own energy or the energy from around you and focus it in, turn it in, and manipulate it into something, right? So when you're drawing enough power to cast a wish spell, you are drawing mass amounts of power, right? Huge amounts of power. So you have to have trained and got yourself to the point where you can handle that kind of stuff coursing through your body because you become a conduit for it. Or in the case of like some of these guys who have spell focuses, they have to have something that can handle that much power. Because to some degree they are still channeling, their focus helps them, but they are still channeling their stuff too. So they need strong, powerful things to do it and be strong themselves. I've always liked to hold it in that area that you are either like the wizard understands exactly how that works, exactly how to manipulate the energies around or within to create the spell. What?
Sorry. Nothing.
Sorry, nothing.
It's crumpled butt skin.
So yeah, you either learn those kinds of ways or you learn how to kind of feel it out. A monk, he doesn't, unless you're the elemental monk, they generally just are straight up force damage. They just know how to project their own inner force out. And then with any other form of magical ability, it's just learning how to maintain and manipulate and create those things into the different forms that magic takes.
And Alan, with you going into the different classes, he does ask about bards.
With a
Because
bard.
of course he would.
Again,
the bard.
if you're doing something and basically it's your own will, your own power, and your own energy being manipulated, it makes complete sense that a bard can weave his magic into his song because the song becomes the embodiment of his will and his power. It's not the instrument that's magical. It's literally him weaving a spell via music, right? Or quippy words. with his insulting
Vicious mockery.
cantrips from Vicious Mockery. But yeah, like that's the kind of things that I like to see. I've always kind of felt that that's the true source of the magic, not the goddess or something like that. With it, they kind of explain with D&D this. Okay.
That thunderstorm's getting real loud now, isn't it?
Anyway,
Nothing.
other questions?
I believe he.
He also asked about the elemental forges. What is the history of the elemental forges?
Okay.
Or
We can get
what you want to give us.
we can get into that. I'd love to. It is 9 o'clock. If you guys want to take a quick break,
Yeah, we can take a quick break.
we can take a fast break real quickly and then come back, and I can give you a little bit of some information on that. I don't want to give too much
Yeah.
away because you guys are actually dealing with the elemental forges.
Well, we were. And at this point of the story, that's kind of a forgotten thought.
You guys are dealing with the elemental forges. Unless you choose to absolutely run away from some of the things that you're going to be presented with in the next time we play. But yeah, I have no problem giving some information on that.
Okay. So a quick break, and we'll be back in 5.
Okay. Hey guys, we are back. So last we left off with a question about the elemental forges, yeah?
Yes.
Yes.
So, elemental forges. Long before the twisting ever happened, the elven kind lived as just the elven kind for a really long time, guys. And the families that created these forges were the original, like, true crafting families. And they spread themselves throughout and found kind of nexuses of power to create a forge on so that they could create some of the greatest, most powerful weapons around. Then they realized just kind of what they had. Like, they built them, and they didn't think, like, they didn't know about some of the materials that they could find. Right? So they built these forges. You have I don't want to get all into them, but yeah, you've got like the Fire Forge and the Storm Forge, and there's a few others that I'm not going to get into yet because you guys haven't been around or heard
like the
much
Water
about
Forge.
We knew that we had to hit 4.
And the Earth Forge. And the Air Forge.
Yeah, we had to hit...
But every-
can master all 4 forges.
No.
They're
But
actually
everything
they're actually a
changed
little
when the
bit
Fire
different.
Forge came
They're
to
actually
be.
a little bit different than that, because they aren't straight up one element. Like the Fire Forge is one element, right? It's the fire, but like the Storm Forge harnesses multiple elements in order to create the storm, and to fuel its forge. Then there's like the Green Forge and the Heart Forge. Like they're all different. Yeah.
I think you already
Captain
know where.
Planet.
Yeah, thank you. The Heart Forge. First thought I had.
Yeah.
Heart.
Yeah, I know. I did the same thing, but I was like, it's too cool, it's too perfect. And there's only one reason it's called the Heart Forge, is for its location. But
Yeah, it's because you have to sacrifice living people for it.
yes, exactly.
He is on the job.
Mayan rules. You gotta cut out the
Mayan
heart
rules.
and then use that to forge the weapon.
And then you have to throw 4,000 pounds of gold
Yeah.
into Shibalba, and then you can make something. No,
What are they doing? They're giving to Shibalba. Oh.
To Shibalba? To Shibalba! Wait, what are they doing? Yeah, no, alright, so, these forges, they were created, again, to be able to make some of the greatest weapons that could ever be made, or even some of the greatest of just simple structural type things. They made stuff that created, like, that were cores of machines that ran. They still, at the center of some of the great cities, have these cores that were created inside the forges that run and heat and light things. Lightvale definitely has a lot more of the remnants of the old world from before the twisting. But there were a lot of things that you guys could still run across. At this point now, they're thousands of years past and destroyed. But there are things that were amazing that have been lost. That were fashioned by these forges. But when people started creating devastating weapons, and when someone discovered Star Mithril, they took to shutting down and closing and keeping the forges hidden forever. Because Star Mithril is so dangerous. And they saw the potential in what it could become. And said, we will not let these forges be what they are.
Well, they did a bang-up job of not protecting the Fire one.
Well, the Fire one had been lost to time.
And we found it so easily.
And you guys...
It just took us summoning an Ifriti.
Yeah, you guys got kind of lucky. But
And
there were
killing all the
things
salamanders.
there were things that were living inside of it, but no one had ever actually opened the gates. Right? Those
But have they
things
seized the
those things went after the hottest, the heat core inside, basically, right? They went after what was super hot inside because they live in the heat and the
And
fire.
when we got there, the forge
They
was
sought it
closed.
and transported themselves
Fuck, it's
in.
all there.
Nah, yeah, that's
Right?
You got Thanos snapped.
It literally
And
did
those
just
creatures
that.
aren't standard, like, dryad creatures. They're more like other planar things, right?
And now they no longer exist.
And now they're gone.
Well, hopefully that didn't destroy the time-space continuum in any way.
Yeah.
It did.
Oh, more than likely. The plane of fire, not there anymore.
But anyways,
That will
yes.
throw the world out of whack, right?
Just get rid of an entire race.
No,
Entire
an entire plane.
Plane.
Yeah, but it's not our plane. It's not like we have to care.
You know, it's only the elemental plane.
Yeah.
Just
And-
all of a sudden, there is no more fire in the world.
Yeah, sun dies.
Cast fireball. Wait, nothing's happening.
It's fireball. Oh.
Yeah, you guys go out. There's no more daylight.
Eh,
Oh, it's okay.
it was overrated.
I can now see in the dark.
Yeah. Anyways, so no, that didn't happen. But yeah, so like these forges were made to very different design for each of them. They all kind of have slight differences in the way that they will leave a mark on whatever thing they forged. Credence was actually seeking to bathe his blade in the fires of all of the forges in order for it to kind of gain the greatness from all of them, whatever he can from it. He wanted to take a weapon that had never been made and make a weapon like none other, right? Anyways, so yeah, there's some really cool things about the forges. I don't want to give a whole bunch away, but yeah, these things have existed for a very long time. The name Stormforge or Fireforge exists today amongst the Taejungi. Still.
Yeah.
And these are the original families that built the forges during their time as Elvenkind before the twisting.
What? I'm not laughing for any particular reason. Definitely because I did just think about the fact on that naming convention that technically means out there is some family with the last name Heartforge.
No, they're actually for some reason still elven.
But yeah, like that's there is a thing. There are real names like that.
I don't know. It's
And-
D&D.
Yeah. Anyways, so yeah, that's what I'm gonna give you on the forges. I don't want to give too much away, just even though there's all sorts of things I'd love to talk about. I've written all about them in here and stuff, but I don't want to give a ton away. You guys get to go and learn, and I want the audience to be able to learn it with you. Other questions?
How do you know which characters are going to have which accents? How do you choose how they sound?
Largely the inspiration of the time. I think about the build of the character, where they came from, what they should sound like. There's a reason Stilts, being an extremely small character, has a higher pitched voice. I know that Tay hates him because it kind of messes with his stuff, because he's got things that kind of trigger on the sound. But yeah, I know you guys for whatever reason want to kill him, but
He's annoying as hell.
He's not annoying.
Yes, he
He's
is.
super helpful.
yeah, he's actually really
Like,
helping you
really
guys.
good guy. He's
Since
been
when?
super nice
He
to us.
is translating
That's
an entire
true.
thing for you guys so that you guys have access to it.
Mm.
The entirety.
I thought we were having Key do that.
No.
Also, Key has
You
the book.
gave-
Oh yeah, I do have the book though, because it was the books I was pulling out when she cast Zone of Truth. I pulled out the book. So
He currently has the book.
So you guys handed him both books, and no one ever stole them.
I know it just happened when they told me to pull out the books during the Zone of Truth. It just happened to be one of the books I pulled out. I guess I forgot as a character that I gave it to him.
Yeah.
So it just happened.
So yeah, Stilts happens to have both those books, and is working the translation for you guys, and he is near done with them because he told you you'd have them done in about 3 days or 4 days.
By the way, what happened to him?
Stilts is still with you guys.
I know, but like during a certain point of last week, he just stopped being a character.
No, he's still with you guys. I just didn't have him talking.
Alan says he does not trust Stilts with the Codex.
Yeah, no, he's
Which
made
is
that
weird
very
because
clear.
he had no problem with him whatsoever when you first gave it over to him.
Yeah, but then time happened.
Well, here's
Yeah,
the
but he
thing,
did
though. Was
nothing
he
wrong.
even there when we gave it over?
Yes.
Yeah.
The
Alan
only one
was
who
there.
wasn't there when that was given over was Nero.
No, I mean Alan, the actual
Alan,
person.
the actual human being,
Yeah.
was
Yeah,
right
yes.
there.
Alan was here.
Yeah, he was there.
He just wasn't there in the cave.
Mm.
but he was there when we
Yeah, but
first
he
met
gave
Stilts.
this
On
stuff
top
to
of that, you
Stilts
guys
when we went
actually,
to go
like,
see the king.
when determining what you were gonna go do, when you guys went in to do the Yagamoth thing, you actually determined you were going to the Yagamoth to find the entrance to get the things that were stolen out of her temple, and then when you got there, turned around and walked out.
Well, here's the
but-
problem. A lot of us didn't decide that.
Because no one decided anything.
No, and it was kind of we just got.
We also
pushed
ran
it.
into a bunch of Ragamuff Royal Guards.
It
Right.
was obviously no longer a stealth mission.
Yeah.
Well,
Which was kind of the point of last mission where you were talking like, well, we should go down. It's like, well, they know we're coming. There's no point.
well,
They knew you were
They
there,
knew
but
you
they
were-
sent
they knew you
someone
were
to
there.
take care of it. You guys took them out.
Yeah.
No,
So
but-
you do have time that you could stealth down into there
We-
without
no.
before
we
they're
were-
gonna send someone out.
No, we
But
were informed that an entire other group left because we persuaded them away, which means they know we're coming. They're ahead of us. They're going to be prepared.
well, there's two that left. Yeah,
Yeah.
but you didn't know
It's
that.
not a stealth. Okay, but that's fair.
You, as a party, had no idea.
No, but also there's just
Like,
the fact.
zero idea, because they were not even in visible range of any of you.
Okay, that's fair. On the other hand, though, we also now know that Shalia is wanted in the Underdark.
You've
seems
known
like a
that for
number
a really
one-
long time.
And that her family doesn't have
No,
the
ritual reasons is wanted in the Underdark,
Right.
which is now a thing where it's like, no, we're not going to give that to her. We're not giving her to them.
Yeah, and see, that's completely
And, like,
understandable. I
There
get
are
that.
specific reasons, which I feel like off camera we need to go over, but, like, yeah no.
But yeah, anyways,
Yeah, so back to Q&A.
yeah. Anyways, I just think it's, yeah. So, yeah, Stilts is taking care of those things for you. There's a reason that he has a
Well,
certain
he also
voice that
doesn't want to go
does.
any deeper in that cave because of what was already happened to him just at the entrance.
Oh, I know.
So
got
he's
it.
just like, everyone's leaving. I don't get that either.
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
out of here.
But as far as voice choices, I try to find stuff that's fun, entertaining, something different. I've never done a character with the voice like Stilts, or I've never done a character like... I obviously still have a lot of people who have a similar generic kind of Britishy type sound, or like a bunch of the people in the one city, they all had the very Asian-esque, like trying not to be horribly racist or anything, but having more of a Asian English accent. Just to kind of give you the flavor of an area, of the people. I try hard to find that kind of stuff. In our previous game, I had the one guy that I just couldn't help it, Matt Mercer. We love you, and we absolutely love Pumat Soul. And I just thought it'd be too funny to do a voice like that, and I put it in for the game. That was a private game that was just for fun, and I wanted to practice voices. But other ones like Orisha, when Alan's character met Orisha.
We weren't there for that.
I know you weren't there for that. But Orisha, she's specific. So when I came up with her name, again, this is going back to like naming conventions and language convention stuff. In Overwatch, Orisa, the tank, her name is an African word. And it's basically like a spirit of death, like it's a death spirit type thing. And I was like, oh, this is perfect, because like I wanted this goddess of death kind of creature, and Orisha would be this, like, it's my little spin on the sound of the name, but it's still kind of the same thing, and it has that feel of the character, because he specifically did a Jamaican accent and sounds like a big black, like, African type feel. And I was like, okay, cool, like, why don't we go with something that feels a little bit more towards him? So I actually spent time practicing a bit more of an African accent for Orisha, and spoke with his character with her accent. And so she told, I suck at this point. I spent a couple of weeks prepping for it at the time, and I did that. Or Credence, I sounded more like a Canadian when I first started with it, but now... No, it's not so bad anymore, but it was worse when I started.
Kavedian?
Canadian Swede.
Yeah, no, Kavedian.
Canadian. Swedish. Canadian.
Svanadian.
Funny. Yeah, I can see that.
But yeah, I pick stuff that I haven't tried before. If I come up with something new that doesn't feel like it already has to exist in the culture or the people, Every once in a while, I always like to mix it up with like a Russian accent here and there because Russian's fun.
Yes, Viv.
Yeah. But yeah, that's how I mostly I just pick on what feels right for the thing that I'm starting to create. And every once in a while, it's just because I haven't done something like that before, so I really want to try it and push my skills, because part of the toolbox that a DM should have, in my opinion, is voices. Like, you need to know how to do a large gamut of
We should
things.
probably set up a time, me and you, just to do an EPK of all your voices.
That would be very difficult.
Well, just you come over and just go through like a range of voices you can do.
I need to sit down and think of all the.
But that way you
I've
can
done.
also go back and like listen. It's like, how did this character sound?
Right.
All right. I do have a question, because I've been asking questions for Kenzie all at the beginning, because she's not here. Now it's time to ask questions for Key, because Key's backstory we never went into a lot.
Yeah, we didn't. You just kind of gave me a little bit of some stuff that he did.
Mainly,
I was like, okay.
So, because I've now come to some things, a bit more about Artemis and the Slitted Eye Thieves group would be nice, because that is Key's whole upbringing, is that.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
at this point in time, we have passed the sorry, I apologize. The Chaos War, right? The Chaos War is where this man gained a name, Artemis. It was actually before the Chaos War. He started setting himself up with a name. You, having been in there and growing up in there, you kind of have an idea that Artemis may be a title and not a person. But the guy that you knew and was raised with as the leader, named Artemis, was a very driven, very secretive, play it close to the vest, paranoid person who had very, very specific desires, and all of his jobs started becoming very pointed, which is kind of what led you to seeing, okay, this is dangerous for this thing that he has, because I think at that point like, he was going to do something with that key.
I started connecting dots.
Right. Now, the fact that you have screwed around with that key.
I got curious, okay.
Yeah, no, he's keyed around with that key.
Yeah. So key is kind of sad, like, it's kind of funny just for the fact that you got too curious and now you've kind of like dug yourself into something. I actually have some plans for making some sanity rolls for your character.
So far, I have made every single wisdom roll
I know
that has to deal with
you've
the
done
warlock
very well with that.
you've
done
given me.
very well with that, so it's very good. It is very good because it could turn out very bad otherwise. But yeah, you're that whole thing, like your understanding of the Slitted Eye. They generally are a group of orphans, or in some cases kids who have been taken, but for the most part orphans or runaways, I guess is a better way. Not so many stolen children, but they're a group of kids that have been raised and taught and been built to become thieves and assassins. And they've all worked for Artemis, doing the jobs and things that he's wanted, amassing the power that he wants to amass, and he's actually a nasty player in this game. And he will become part of the story at some point, I'm guessing, just to do with things that have kind of been building. It kind of depends on how you guys end up playing, though. Like, it definitely depends on how you choose to play. Because if you don't end up running that direction, then you'll probably never see him. But he is a player in the historical parts of what's going on. Because there's people who start seeing that they've got an iron in the fire that they didn't realize they may have had until they're like, oh, look what's going on. Opportunity. Right? Yeah.
So another thing is, where would that group be mainly located? Would I originate from Iscolid, or would I have been from another kingdom or area?
So, I would. The larger base is outside of Iscolid. It's in a little bit more of the wilder lands. just north. It's not in the actual hinterland type areas, but it is outside of Iscolid. Because Artemis, he stayed his distance, because Iscolid, like, was his enemy. That was the enemy in the Chaos War, right? He got brought down by the people in Iscolid and by the White Staff. But they're still in Artemis. So, yeah.
Yeah, because it's like I created my backstory to be kind of simple, to be more easily slotted in. So I just wanted to, especially since you actually gave me the name of Artemis, and that when I gave them the symbol of the slitted eye, apparently was a really big thing. So I just wanted to be more focused on exactly what.
Right. Yeah. Slitted eye. Slitted eye is a dangerous group. The very highest up. Okay. So this is something actually that you might be a little bit like wondering about this thing with Fernando, because he gave up an eye, right? Mm-hmm. And for you, the guys who give up eyes are the very highest up in your group. They have a scar over the eye, right?
Yeah, and that's how I also drew the symbol, which I have in my book somewhere. It was not a long time ago that we talked about it, so I drew it. Yeah, there it is. Which is basically, I don't know if it'll be able to be seen on camera.
Probably not, but might as well.
That's the one I came up with.
Right.
So it's the eye with the slash.
Mm-hmm. Right. And so to have that slashed eye, or this blinded eye, it's coming at a cost. And you personally have dealt with these guys, and they don't act like they have one eye. They don't act like they're missing an eye. Neither does Fernando. So as far as your character goes, you might actually be a bit interested in that whole situation. Yeah. Anyways, yeah. So that might be something to you, but you know that he's not part of the slitted eye. Mm-hmm. Like you, at least to your knowledge, he has nothing to do with it. But yes, that would be something that would be cool to kind of dig into. Questions from you guys at all? Other than that, did you come up with one at all? No.
She has one question, but she's gonna ask it at the very end.
Okay.
Where do babies come from?
She has 3. I'm sure she knows.
I'm pretty
that
sure
by
she
now.
knows where they came from. Very intimately so.
Hey Tay, any questions?
No, I've gone through all mine.
You have any questions?
None that I can think of. I think Fernando just said, "Wait, where did the sword come from?" Which I'm kind of hoping, like, I hope you're writing my joke, but if not, that was perfect timing.
Didn't you have some questions, though, Josh, about the sea elves and maybe like the...
That's just a general, but in just the sea elves in general, but they live in the sea, and we haven't interacted with them much.
Just to give a thing here.
Nero is the 1% of sea elves.
No, so yeah, the elven kind. You've got the fairy elves, the Eladrin, right? Mm-hmm. The sea elves, and then we've got the weird Yagamoth, who happen to still have the elven features, but they are very, very different. They look almost like Walking Dead, right? They look like this ashen skin, white hair. They look very odd. The wood elves, the regular elven kind, the sea elves, and the Eladrin, they're supposed to be elven kind that have just over the many, many years prior to the twisting have kind of developed. Mm-hmm. You are one of the few that didn't ever change in the actual twisting.
Right.
You remained an elven kind, just happened to be one that has evolved and changed to be able to live in the sea. Right? There are others who turned into your kind during the twisting because they were seafaring or whatever. Something about being on the open water left them only slightly changed.
Right.
Right? But that was the part, this deepest part of who they are. So it would be a very, very small number that would have ever turned into that.
Yeah, I can't agree the sea is deep.
Oh my gosh. But similarly with the Eladrin or the Wood Elves or whatever, they're natural variants in the elven kind themselves.
Right.
You guys definitely have a society. It's like a bit more militaristic than maybe other societies are, just because it is fracking dangerous down in the water. You guys have very powerful stuff to keep yourselves going down there.
These people think they have monsters above land.
Yeah. Imagine, like, king whales are probably really scary in the water.
Are you friends with Nessie?
I'd be way scared.
Probably.
I'd be way more scared of a king whale in the air.
So.
Though. King whales can fly.
Yeah. But, like, I mean, just in the point of, like, we ran into a freaking giant monster in a lake. Like, that's a lake. What's the ocean gonna have?
Yeah. And
Dragons.
I was gonna say, there are basically inner
Just
seas
waiting to be
inside
released.
Dryad, right? Like, when I pull out my global map and show you guys, and you actually see a body of water that looks semi-big, you're talking something that's basically an ocean on the inland, right? Like, you would just sail across it for 500 miles.
Right, but what we ran into was a lake.
Yeah, you guys, when you ran into that big, crazy, stupid fish down underneath in the lake, yeah, it wasn't a big lake.
There's probably a dormant volcano, so it's just deep, thick.
Yeah, it just had a very, very deep shaft that I'm not even going to keep going because Josh is already laughing.
I was laughing because your wife just almost did a spit take. I was watching and I was... Sorry, I was laughing because she was...
We were laughing at Fernando's Spanish on the
Spanish for us informative, but not that.
Really? Because the timing was
It
perfect.
was really good. Yeah.
I was laughing because she made a thing. Like,
So-
yes, I was going to start laughing, but she beat me to the punch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But to be
Anyways,
fair,
so
I was
yeah,
laughing at-
as far as CLs goes, they have a strong militaristic male leader, very strong military. They are not
A good navy, I'm assuming.
that would be what all they have, pretty much. Yes.
They're Britain.
They get onto land,
No.
they're just like, what do we do here?
Believe it or not, they actually have the leading air force.
Well,
Hey, when you weaponize flying fish, you'd be
I was
impressed
gonna
that
say,
you get
if
away
you
with
want
it.
the honest truth, if they rode on great whales, they would be some serious, or king whales, they would be very, very, very scary.
They have a really great navy. Their land force on the
King
other
whales are generally ridden by frost giants, but yes, the sea elves, I could definitely see them gaining control and running some of those. They would be a scary air force. But, yeah, mostly, yeah, navy. But it's because they're riding on, like, sea creatures and crap. Like, you could have them riding on, like, a leviathan. That'd be so freaking scary.
Mm-hmm.
You would not, yeah. Their destroyers are really scary destroyers underwater. But only underwater.
Well, I mean, that's kind of the fun part about having a Leviathan, though, is because they make land water.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's up, Marine?
Yeah. All right. Anyway, but yes, they're quite cool when you guys actually get to experience some of that stuff because you may be coming to that sooner than you realize.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on where you go, I've got options of where like that I'm gonna offer and see where you end up going. We'll see.
Right.
Anyways, yeah. The Fey Elves, like the Eladrin, they are things that just got entrenched with the Fey, dealing with those things, the larger Fey, and eventually breeding with them and turning into Fey Elves, right? Wood Elves just happen to be what they are. They just over time naturally evolved in living in the forest, in the great forest, the world forest. Sorry.
Yep. Hunting ironwood squirrels and
Oh my gosh.
memes will never die.
I need to find an Arnold Schwarzenegger squirrel somewhere and just.
You created this place with the ironwood that was supposed to have the toughest trees, basically made of iron, and then you said I was able to hunt wildlife there. What does that wildlife live off of? I don't know.
I don't know.
Each other.
Bugs.
You like pick it up and you just turn out
That
the
actually-
forest is just filled with
That would
rust
actually
monsters.
that would actually be really funny. The wildlife that's there, other than the rust bugs, but you have like carnivorous things that are generally herbivores, right? They just eat each other because that's all they can do. Because they can't
They've
eat anything in the
adapted to
trees.
that.
Oh, that'd be scary.
Ooh, vicious squirrels.
Carnivorous
Oh man,
squirrels.
we get attacked by a swarm of squirrels.
It's just a bunch of cute fuzzy tails as they kill people.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Squirrel Schwarzenegger.
Thank you, Alan.
You.
You're welcome. All right, so yeah, questions.
As far as so the White Staff has been brought up in this campaign. You have a few different elite groups. which ones are kind of around in this time period that we would
The
know
Who
about?
clan, the Five Rings.
The Who?
Yep.
Oh.
Who are you?
Clan.
Yes.
Who?
The joke was made when he brought it up
Oh.
too.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't know if I heard it right.
Wait, but is what on second?
Okay, I actually want Key to find some sort of weird little magic wand thing and just run around
God, him
and
yes.
have people ask exactly who because of his alternate personality, because he's just known as the
Oh.
Doctor.
I know, I'm known
Oh
as
my
Dr.
gosh.
Thalian Shmee. Is
Right.
my alternate
Oh
personality.
yeah, you actually have a name.
Dr.
Thalian
Thalian
Shmee.
Shmee.
Oh my gosh, he has the wand of noise making.
Just some weird, just some weird wand, and they're like, Doctor Who?
That's what he said. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dr. Schmear.
Dr. Thalian Shmee.
Looks like it should be the Wu clan then.
Was it WHU or
It's Who. H-U.
H? Just
Oh. Whoops. Okay. So like the Birds of Prey, Five Rings, Anointed, the Holy Knights.
The Birds of Prey haven't come into existence. The Anointed do not exist because the White Staff are the thing.
Oh, they're the early.
Well, you need Canary, Huntress, and whoever the third one is. for
Oh
that
my
one.
gosh, not those.
Wait, what?
Birds of Prey.
The Birds of Prey are my elite assassin group that are actually basically they're like a branch of the Anointed.
That's your
They're-
church-like organization. Assassins are the Birds of Prey. Anyway, it was funny to me.
And
Okay.
no one else.
Kind of like you.
Yep.
All right, guys. So yeah, right now the Five Rings are probably one of the bigger ones. Tay is going to have some fun with that if he ever gets around to it.
Well, so far what we learned from
Because
the
he's been-
douchebags right now.
Oh yeah, no, those two old guys were absolute like dual cases.
But yeah, the Five Rings are an amazingly powerful group, elite group. You're learning right now, right? You've got you're learning in the Ring of Fire.
Yeah. And I was studying that book before
Oh,
our
yeah, that's
long rest got interrupted.
Right.
Mm. At least you didn't have. You know, I'm not gonna finish that sentence.
Okay. Yeah,
He's
the questions.
learning. He's becoming self-aware. We need to pull the plug.
Wait, what? I don't know what you're talking about. Clear. Oh.
Alright, any other questions, guys?
Not that I can think of.
Okay. What?
Well, he called it Birds of Prey.
Birds of Prey.
Not Prey.
Ellen, you son of a gun! You stole the joke I made, and then they laughed.
Well, it made more sense when
You
he
see,
It made more sense
There
with
was
emojis.
an emoji,
I went like this.
but that's
See,
not
Josh,
as good as an
Josh,
emoji.
you're getting in a very important part of joke telling. Who's telling it?
I'm done. I'm out.
Sorry, it was.
I'm laughing because it was way
yeah.
funnier watching him have a
Might be a
problem.
good time. to
Alan
figure
says
it
sorry.
out.
Okay,
Last
my question: who's your favorite player?
Who's my favorite
Your
player?
favorite milestone.
Well, at this table right now, my favorite player happens to be my wife, but that's because she's my wife.
Bias.
No,
As
it's fine.
far-
You don't have to
as-
choose me.
As
You don't
far
have
as
to
who's
choose
my
me.
favorite character or my favorite player at the table,
Credence.
none of you guys actually.
It's the
My
toil.
very favorite player that I have ever played with at a table has my friend Skylar Rigby.
Okay, we're limiting you to this group.
Who's your favorite group to
So
play?
Skylar,
No,
if
I'm
you
just
ever
kidding.
see this, know you're
Saturday.
probably one of the favorite people I've ever played with.
Everetta.
Now you have to understand, you are the most impressive, crazy player to me. My brother, Matt McClellan, is the person I have played with longer than anybody, and he knows more about this world, and he knows my mind probably better than everybody. So he is probably one of my all-time favorites. My other is Pearson, but that's
But limiting it to the people that are actually in this game.
limiting it to the people who are right here.
They were gonna discount your
I
wife
do
just
not-
slightly.
I do not have a one that I can actually.
This is gonna get political.
That's what Alan just said.
I honestly don't have one that
Matt's
I
a good
could, that I could
diplomat,
pick
though.
from, because every single one of you have a story that I want to go and do. We could play this game for 5 years and actually just delve into everyone's individual stories. Like, I'd be happy, but you guys would go crazy playing that long. You want to see. You'd want to see.
Answer it.
You want to see the end of the story before we ever got to see all the things that I want to see. Because seriously, I love the fact that you guys took all the time you have to your characters and have devoted trying to play a character out of the very best of your abilities.
When you're done, I just have one more I thought of that would be kind of cool.
Okay.
Talk about.
But yeah, every one of you guys comes with your own strengths, right? Like, Tay always has a plan. Whether they succeed or fail, he's always got a plan. I love the craziness and the fun of Key and Nate's characters. Voices are always a fantastic thing that he brings, but he has inventive, different types of characters that I love.
It was very fun to play.
Josh, despite sometimes even being annoying to the point of annoying with the way he plays characters,
Yes.
I still feel the heart that comes from what you play. That's why I haven't taken you away from my table.
That's fair. That's fair.
Because
At this point, I'm kind of waiting on a week-to-week basis for it.
I won't. I'm not gonna do that. Like, I would never do that. Because I know who you are. I know who cares. I know that you care. And when that's a big deal to me, because I know somewhere in you take it very seriously with your character. I love watching Connor play something completely different from what he played in the previous game.
Yeah.
Who was the much more really strict paladin type. There's he's gonna always do the good, and he's this much more serious character. And now he's kind of a bit of a douche character, but I love him. He's awesome. He's just really cool. He just happens to be someone who needs to learn. He has so much room for growth for his character with all this age that he has, and deciding the world sucks. He needs to have something that brings hope to his character, and I love that because there's a deep amount of character growth that can happen for him. Similarly for you or for Tay or for any one of the characters at this table, there's character growth that I see. There's an interesting thing here to watch for any one of you guys. And so to watch you play them out is neat. I love watching Shalia with all of her crazy, stupid deals that she's making back and forth, and she has got herself so twisted up and tied up into different knots. And she has a hard time because she has loyalties all over the place that she doesn't want to hurt people, but she has to do what she has to do, and then she's regretting some of those choices, but she's trying to play it out. I don't know if I see a happy end for her, but I see an end.
We love you, Shalia. We're really
If we go back to the city, she's dead. If we go to the Underdark, she's dead.
I mean, but she's a fantastic character because she's willing to put herself on the line. She's playing the character out, and it's awesome. It's very frustrating to some degree where you're man, you are gonna get yourself killed. Because I don't want to just run you I don't want to just run and kill her. I want her to see what she can do to get out of it. I want to see where she's going to come up with something, and how she's going to play that character out. Fernando is just the all-round pretty good guy character. He just is a good man, and he wants to become something. I love seeing Mittens, who is devoted and strong and stalwart, despite being kind of stuck with people that definitely don't fall along the lines that she agrees with. She's been absolutely loyal to you guys in so many ways, and just healed and protected and taking care of you guys, even when sometimes you guys have not been very good to her. She's been really good to you guys, and to watch and to see how far she's willing to go to do what somewhere in there she just knows is going to be the right choice. She has to do the right thing. And sometimes she's had to choose to separate herself from you guys because she feels that she's has to do the right thing. The fact that she's willing to do that is cool, even if sometimes that's difficult, right? Similarly, David's character is just a blast to see. He's so broken, but I love him.
To be fair, I'm part of the reason.
Well, the thing is, David always brings characters it's insane how much he brings to a table when he knows D&D so well that he just brings in the most insane broken things, and I'm I can never do anything to David's characters, but it's okay. it's learning how to work around that and make it work well, and like let him build and play into a story for the game to be fun. Because it's not about me defeating and winning at a battle. That's not what I care about. That's not what I personally care about. I like to give you guys a challenge and make it tough sometimes, but I care about the story. I care about where is it going to go. I care about how's the development happening for people and for story and world, not did I win that fight, because if I win, you die. So I don't really exactly want to win most of those fights. You know, might want to win a little bit here and there, like the fight in the war, but not the war itself, you know, kind of thing.
I have one more question.
Yeah.
You've played D&D a long time. You've spent years and years and years and years creating Dryad.
Mm-hmm.
Who's your favorite character set inside of Dryad?
That's stupid.
Or a favorite NPC that you've ever played?
It's really difficult.
Like, because I just assume kind of, because I've only DM'd for one thing, but like any NPC you make, like I feel like you put a piece of yourself in any of them, given whatever character it is.
Yeah. Every NPC that I create has and carries aspects of who I am, obviously, or I couldn't create them properly to have feeling. But I would think that Balfour is probably one of my all-time favorites. Because I've been playing with Balfour. I've been playing with Balfour for over 20 years, Tay.
No. I'm remembering the tournament.
No. The
Yeah,
second
I
you
know.
said that, I looked at Tags and I'm like, all right, let's see.
I know, and I don't give a crap about that. Balfour just is a good character.
Well, Tay does.
Tay gets what he deserves.
Whoa!
He fought a guy that he shouldn't have.
In a tournament.
Anyway.
Yeah, I didn't
know,
really have a choice.
I know. That was more just screwing around with you. That was me messing around, because I was like, I'm not going to actually impede your progress in the thing. I just wanted to mess around and show you something else.
Balfour's a Stormforge, by the way, guys.
Yeah, Balfour is a
For those who
Stormforge.
don't know, like
No, like absolutely. I was about to ask, what
Yeah.
is he in just general? Like
Balfour
race?
Stormforge is a Taejungi who has been around a really long time. He used to be very greedy. He was pretty much a pirate. Actually sailed the open sea, which is kind of cool for Taejungi because they don't do that most of the time. He was seeking all sorts of items of great power, and him and Dante, his cousin, who is a Fireforge, they ran and did everything together. And eventually, the greed, the willingness to put other people in harm's way to get what he wanted, Balfour ended up breaking his friendship with Dante, and it changed him into a different person. And he then realized, like, when Dante basically said, "You are nothing to me anymore because you've proven you're not family, you don't care," it broke him to the point where he was like, okay, I am wrong, and the choices I've made are not the things that I should be doing. And so then he realigned himself to something more and went to serve something higher. And while he still may have a competitive side to some end, which is why he went and fought Tay in the tournament, he actually is much more involved in seeking out people that he can help and doing the good that the anointed want to have done, and to be used more of an agent of good in all times. And he's pretty well willing to just do whatever he has to do that, to make up for what he feels was his grievous sins. He does eventually actually fix his problems with Dante, and they become quite the force together. Dante happens to be played by one of my other good friends named Tony. He was a very cool kid, and the first time that they met each other after all the years being away was actually a really cool moment to have that character exist in the world and play along. Because Tony was playing an actual PC in the game, and Balfour just being an NPC character who was very directly tied to him was pretty neat. So that's one of my favorites. Obviously, Garion is never going to not be one of my favorite characters. It was the NPC that ran my brother through his very first RPG with me that we really played. And he became a fixture as a legendary hero for forever. Obviously, I also like Lace. You guys don't really know much about Lace. I think you've met him once or twice.
Is he the lightning guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, we met him a couple times last
Yeah.
campaign. He helped us through a lot of stuff, actually.
Yeah,
No, that
he-
was Sid.
Oh,
Well,
is it Sid?
Sid did stuff, but he's a pupil of Lace. But
that's what it
Lace actually was the one who brought you guys back together after that, like after you did your level 10 stuff and took down the Baron. That 1 year break that you guys had, you then got a note from Lace because he had met with you at one point, but he sent a letter to you and said, I need you guys because there's something to do more with things that you're connected with. And so he drew you guys in.
Sorry, I'm just thinking about DeVito again. I
Yeah.
kicked in the door on every occasion possible.
Yeah, but
It'd be fun to do a one-shot bringing those characters back.
it would be really fun to see like super legendary level 20s doing crazy stuff.
Because I never got to play a level 20 Vith.
I
missed out
know,
on that
level
last.
20 Veth would be really cool. But yeah,
20
Lace
fighter all
is
the
obviously
way.
one of my favorite characters. That became a character that
15-5.
actually ran my wife through her very first RPG that I started her with. And she happened to have a romantic relationship
Okay.
with that
Yeah,
guy.
okay.
So, cool. Yeah, those are probably my favorite ones. I really like... I really liked the dude that was up in the Cloud City. I enjoyed doing him. But that's just because I got to do Pumatsol's voice.
Oh, yeah. I was trying to remember who you did that voice for. I'm like, I know you did it, but I just can't remember who for.
Yeah, and Credence has been a lot of fun. He's just been a bit of a turmoil-y type character.
Sorry.
What?
Ellen's in chat again.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know if I could give you 100% one character in my world. Ash was my very first one, so he's always going to be something important. Not that Ash.
Not the Gary and
Hey,
Ash from
I was
Gary's
not
Book of
laughing.
Wonders.
Yeah,
I did not
the
make a
Ash from
joke on
Gary's
that
Book
one.
not the Ash from Gary's Book of Wonders. This actually is an Ash that would have written Gary's Book of Wonders because he was much more driven than that Ash. But yeah, he's a really
Of
cool
course,
character
you wanted to be
too.
the best there ever was.
Oh yeah, not that. Kind of, but not that Ash. Anyways, so yeah, I have a lot of characters. It's really hard to choose, but those are kind of the ones that I can think of. Here during this game, my favorite characters, I hate to say it, I really like Stilts, guys.
Stilts can go to hell, man. Like, I
know
don't know what it is.
I know y'all hate him for whatever reason. I don't know why, but it like went from being annoyed at his voice to just hating him.
Stilts deserves all the punishments of Hades.
He did nothing. He did nothing to you. Nothing. Anyways, aside from him, obviously I like Credence, and I really like Brolin. It's not Beren. His name is Brolin. I actually went back and watched the first ones.
I assume we're
And-
talking about the fridge.
Yes.
The fridge, yeah.
Okay,
The
okay.
leader of the Blades. His name's Brolin. I will.
Where did we get
Ah,
that?
that
I
actually
will-
is funny.
Because we went
Beren
back
is
to-
actually another guy
Brolin
in one
is
of my
another
other
guy who was famous.
games
Oh.
who happens to be a similar type of build
And so
character.
you started calling him that.
I called
I have
it.
no
Well,
idea.
and when I said Beren, everyone's like, "Yeah, that sounds right," and I'm like, "Okay, we'll go with
Aaron,
it."
Brolin.
Yeah, and they're really similar name. Anyway, Brolin's one of my faves. He's fun. Just the big.
Alan just says we don't trust those because he's a spy.
Yeah.
We have spies in
Along
I
with
was
all
about to
your
say,
thieves
yeah,
and
like,
spies
trust.
and assassins.
No, we don't.
We're not spies.
You guys don't trust him
No,
worth
Not
anything.
spies.
And you guys don't.
I said other people, not.
Anyways, so that's it, guys. I hope I didn't get a whole lot of stuff from the audience. We didn't see
It's
anything.
mainly Alan in the
Just
chat.
mainly
so-
Alan, yeah.
That's okay. If you guys watch this video and you have questions, feel free to send messages on the video or to the actual page, the on YouTube, or if you
Comments on YouTube, or there is on the Discord channel. There is a general questions thing, but then there's also in the Forgotten Worlds. You can go to the world chat and ask questions.
Exactly. Go there and ask. We would love to answer some of those questions. That will help give me a little bit more inspiration for things that we could maybe put into the Gary's Book of Wonders, because what we want to do is, on the little breaks that we take, have some quick blurbs of different things out of Gary's Book of Wonders for you guys to kind of inform you about the world a little bit more. And do that in between, so you guys kind of have something to listen to during the break and not just be like, okay, I'm bored and I'm out. Yeah, but yeah, if this is if you guys have any questions that got sparked by watching the video, when you see it at some point or listen to it on a podcast when we eventually get to that point, Feel free to ask, please, because we would be more than happy to answer if we possibly can. And even if this is a long time after these videos are made, I will probably never give up on this world. So yeah, it's just what it is. We've enjoyed being able to talk and just kind of chill and have fun tonight.
Yep.
I hope you've had fun watching and listening to us be a bunch of nerds. Other than that, follow us on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook under Forgotten World Adventures. On YouTube and Twitch and Mixer, it's all Studio Nathan. You can follow there. And then on Discord, we've got Studio Nathan, but it's also
Studio Nathan, but
Forgotten World. There's specifically
there's
a
a
spot
channel
there.
in the server
Yeah.
for Forgotten World. So.
And you can go and meet up with us there. We do gaming stuff as well on the Discord, so like you can come and hang out with us and have fun. We're still waiting for Spice and Rose. I know that she's making progress though.
She's going to be getting me some more character sketches, but she's slowly making progress on our artwork.
That's awesome. I'm excited to see it. Thank you again to her. If you guys want to go look her up, it's Spice and Rose. Does she have a specific name for it other than that?
Just if you look up...
Is she on DeviantArt?
She's on Twitter, Mixer, not Twitter, Twitter, Instagram, and I don't know if she has a DeviantArt. But yeah, it's Rose and Spice on Instagram, Spice and Rose on Twitter, because someone had Rose and Spice.
All right.
But if you just look her up, she's really good. I've met her in person, and she's actually someone who's helped me kind of get my feet into the social media. Which
I actually think I've met Spice and Rose
if
at
you went to the convention,
one of the cons.
Yeah, she goes to plenty of conventions, has tables there.
Yeah.
I think she's going to...
Because looking at her art style, I'm pretty
Portland.
sure I almost bought something from her.
Yeah, she's going to Portland Retro Gaming. If you're in that area, she'll be at that convention next.
Cool.
So...
Judson and Jen.
But she loves Dungeons and Dragons as well, and so she was very happy when I said that I wanted her to draw her D&D character. She's just like, I would love to.
Yeah,
She
just as an open invitation to you, if you're interested and you like D&D and you have some free time and you want to be involved in any way, let us know. We could maybe work you in as like a one-time or something character just for fun, for part of the adventure, because that would be cool. It's a good way to kind of tip our hats to you as well. So know that that's a thing there for you.
I let her know that if she's ever in our area, she's welcome as a guest.
Cool. All right. Anyways, other than that, guys, we love you. Thank you so much for following. Please share these things with your friends. Bring them in here. The more people we have, the more fun we can have on this chat, especially when we have this kind of stuff going on where we want the community to talk and ask. We always want you to talk and ask and do stuff anyway, but this is like, we have a cool opportunity to interact with you guys, and we want to take those opportunities every once in a while. So bring people in. The more we have, the merrier it always is going to be. So thank you again, guys. We love you, and have a good night. Take care.
And if you can't get the VODs, you can always listen to the podcast.
Yes.
We're only up to
podcasts
episode
all
4, because it does take me a while to edit them with everything else I have going on. But the podcast, if you just look up Forgotten World Adventures, we're on 8 different platforms, so Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify. Just look us up, and you can start listening from the beginning there, and I will get as many out as fast as I can.
And the quality is really good, especially for those early episodes. It's much better than what the episodes were on the video. So
it is why it's taking me a while, because I'm going through and doing post-edit on them, compressing and all that.
So they sound great. So
taking me a bit
even
longer
if you've
to
seen
get
them
those.
before, if you didn't hear stuff, you'll definitely hear it now. Anyways, have a good night, you guys. Talk to you later.
Thank you,
See you
Alan,
next
you son of a gun. I'll see you next time I see you, my friend.